Hi there everybody, Peter of England bringing to you now one of the most important videos I think I've attempted to deliver in the 9 years that I've been running this channel. This has really been sparked by the previous video I made just before the United States election, when I was talking about should we be worried when Donald Trump gets re-elected and gets into the White House. There's some controversy at the moment, very rightly so, about the theft of the election, undoubtedly by the Democratic Party in the United States, and then the implications of what that means worldwide. So, with that being said, I've got some concerns about Donald Trump. That's the main reason for this video today. On Friday, last Friday, you may have seen at 10:30, it was 10:30 in the evening our time, so it's around about 4:30 Eastern time. Donald Trump gave a briefing from the White House, from the Rose Garden, with another guy called General Prena. And unfortunately, Donald Trump spoke nothing about hydroxychloroquine. He spoke about nothing to do with alternative therapies. He didn't speak about the non-requirement for masks and lockdown. What was very surprising and disappointing for me, and this is therefore a reach out to all those people who have been supporting Donald Trump, who've been supporting the Q movement and QAnon, to start to reflect on what exactly is going on here. The question then could be, could Q actually be a Democrat? Now, the reason I'm mentioning this, and I know a lot of you are going to be quite up in arms about this, is that, okay, we've had Trump in the White House for 4 years, but there's not much being delivered, and now we have promises of delivery. However, what was quite astounding to me is that Donald Trump spoke nothing about any type of remedy or end to this COVID-19 farce, other than the fact that the military were in place, the military were there ready to deliver the shots had been prepared. He talked about Pfizer, the pharmaceutical big pharma organizations. He said that that Pfizer had a 90% proven cure rate or rate of effectiveness against this virus from a double dose of their vaccine. He also mentioned the other big names in clinical pharmacology. That was Eli Lilly, SmithKline Beecham, and GlaxoSmithKline. So these are all lined up, these pariahs, these vultures sitting on the fence posts now waiting for you. And from what I could see, and please go and listen to what was actually said on that briefing. It's on YouTube, it's on public broadcast TV. He's basically saying all he has to do is give the order to execute, using the word execute, which basically comes from the Latin, which means ex cutis, which means taking from the body. All he has to do is give the word, and the military are there all set to deliver the shots. And he was basically saying, first, the people who need it the most will be given it, maybe frontline workers, and then the people like the elderly or the infirm. But after that, then it will be open or made open to everybody. Now, there's the dilemma. What does he mean by made available to everybody? He also spoke about ventilators. He said everybody that needed a ventilator had got a ventilator. We know full well from the medical facilities that ventilators actually make the situation worse and affect the breathing adversely. They don't help any cure. What I'd also like to mention to you all out there that are interested in this, where's the flu gone? Yeah? Where are the cases of flu? Does anybody get flu anymore? Does anybody get a cold anymore? No, everybody just gets COVID. So in the United States, typically in any 1 year, you will have around about 1.1% of the population dying of flu, or in effect what they mean is not dying from the flu, but dying with the flu, because they've got additional complications. They've got heart problems, they've got asthma, they've got diabetes, they've got all sorts of incidental problems, and then the flu comes along and causes a pneumonia and makes the lungs close down and they die of natural causes. So with that, typically, you know, anything between 60 and 100 million out of the 1.1% of the entire population. I think the entire population of the United States is around about 345, 360 million. So that means we're getting in the ballpark of around 100,000 deaths on those statistics. So are they being logged, and what's happening to them? Why I'm mentioning this is because this general that was in the Rose Garden talking, I think his name is General Gustave Prena, he's a 4-star general. So bear in mind, what my previous videos have stated to you here is that it is a junta. There is a military clique of generals that are running the United States and have been doing so in essence from the 14th of September 2001, 3 days after the 9/11 incident, when under the Emergency Powers War Act, the United States was put on a war footing. So the United States particularly is being run by the military. That's why you've got generals there. Otherwise, what's Donald Trump doing, making an announcement from the Rose Garden in the White House, and there's a general there saying about how the shots are going to be administered, and that's the worry. Will you be able to opt out, or will you have to be compelled to take the vaccine? So I started with the US. Now I'm going to flip over to the United Kingdom to talk about something that's happened over there, which shows that this agenda is very, very worrying. And what I'm trying to say is it may just be that Donald Trump has been used as a stalking horse. If you don't understand what the ideological concept of a stalking horse means, it's something whereby the horse is put out there to be stalked by the aggressor, and acts as a lure or a sideshow until a main event. So it could well be that Donald Trump did mean well, but he's being compromised, or he didn't mean well and he's a good actor. Have a look out there on what's called the secret oath of the Jesuit order to get some idea or realization of what these people can be capable of. So what's happened to Donald Trump? I don't know. I hope I'm proven wrong. I hope he comes along with Q and they reveal everything that they say and show and do everything they said they were going to do. But at the moment, as I say, I see no arrests. I see Comey, I see Obama, I see the Bidens all walking around with the Clappers and the Brennans and the Lisa Pages and the Strucks and the Priestaps and the whole entourage with the Clintons there, the Bushes. The whole cabal is still walking around with its plumes of feathers higher than they ever were, with Little Dancing Nancy and Mad Maxine Waters and Di-Fi Chai-Spy, Dianna Feinstein, Newsom in California lighting the fires to burn everything down. I mean, it just goes beyond madness, and this is why I'm making this video today as a reach out. It's the most important one I've ever done, and I want to try and get under the skin of this to actually try and explain to you where it's coming from, why they're doing it, and what the agenda is. Because most of you out there who don't believe that there's a problem with vaccine, or you don't believe that there's anything untoward going on, the reason that you don't is because you're missing one very, 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 very critical piece of information. And that is always the question you ask: why would they do things like this to us? They're human, just like us. Well, let me run this one past you. The truth, the fact of the matter is that there is a covert, deep state, underground, extraterrestrial guided movement behind all of this. And the plan simply is to clear the Earth's real estate of the virus that they attribute, just like Agent Smith refers to it in the films The Matrix, the human species or the human race as being nothing more than a virus. Now, if that one piece of information, just for now, as a hypothesis, is true, would it make more sense when you look out and see the worldview? Why are all the wars there? Why are they deliberately taking down trees and deforesting the planet? To reduce the amount of oxygen. Because these other beings, let's say, they prefer a much higher or richer CO2 environment, and they don't like high levels of oxygen for their breathing. Also, therefore, look, did that make any sense why there are so many cars and there's so much industrial pollution and fossil fuel emissions on the planet? Could that be because they're doing it to boost it, to make it more favourable for them, more less favourable for you, more habitable for them or inhabitable for them, less for you? So we then come to the next part. How do we get rid of people? We get rid of people in wars, but we can also get rid of them in other ways. We can, as Bill Gates has openly stated, and many other secret societies, particularly the Freemasons, have said, let's look at ways of getting rid of the population because we've got too many people. Checking straight the way back now to something that's going on in the UK, which affects you all. Doesn't matter which country you're in, this is for you. Now, I've got a document in front of me, and you need to start maybe contacting these people in a very nice and very polite way to find out why they are siding with the Zionist New World Order agenda for the elimination and the genocide of not just an African or a Chinese or an Indian or an Eskimo type race phenotype, but why are they looking to get rid of all of us? This group has written a paper, and it's called Written Evidence from Dr. Lisa Forsberg, Dr. Isra Black, Dr. Thomas Douglas, and Dr. Jonathan Pugh. Okay, now these all operate in England out of something called the Oxford Uhiro Centre. That's UEHIRO, no idea what it stands for, Centre for Practical Ethics. The address and contact details for these people are Suite 8, Littlegate House, St Ebbs Street, that's Saint ST, and then Ebbs EBBES Street, Oxford, OX1 1PT. The telephone number is 0044 if you're out of the United Kingdom, 01865 286 893. And why I'm highlighting these people is because you've got to start drilling down now on who is justifying and who is going to bring this compulsory vaccination to you. Because what happens is the politicians all like to stay above these things and say that it was recommended. It was recommended by the medical community. It was recommended by Dr. Fauci. It was recommended by the World Health Organization. Or it was recommended by some steering group on the best minds came together. But in the end, it's you standing there with someone holding you or holding you down or forcing a vaccination into you. Now, the people who don't want that to happen are a potential problem to the plan, because they call it in the medical profession here, as I'm going to refer to you now, as vaccine reluctance. Oh, we don't want that shit pumped into our arm because, one, we don't know what's in it at all, and historically we do know what's in it at all because there's aluminium, formaldehyde, mercury, human fetal tissue, and now with this next series of vaccinations, we've got something in it called luciferase. Look up what that is. And also we have got, and this is the thing which this Dr. Prena also mentioned and has been mentioned elsewhere, so they can't say you don't know about what they're doing to you. It's got DNA altering, editing components within it. So it's got transcription, RNA, and mRNA. So T is for the transcription and M is for messenger. So what this vaccine has now is the ability to, once it's entered your system, to remain there and to be able to be programmed to do stuff. And what that means in a nutshell is that once you've taken the shot, you are a GMO, genetically modified organism. And just like the crops that are issued and given out to farmers at dramatic inflated costs by Monsanto, once you plant the seeds, you find you can't do anything else other than have the fertilizer product from Monsanto, otherwise they don't grow. Neither can you store your seeds for the following year because they won't grow without the second component from. And what that's going to mean to you is that once you have the jab, once you have Donald's shot, once you have the injection and the vaccination, so that they can guarantee herd immunity and they can make it compulsory for everyone so there is no opt-out, yeah, what you've got then is no doctor can cure you of any type of medical condition, full stop. And the reason they can't cure you is because now the genetically modified organism needs a different set of parameters and interactions with it to cure it. It's not the same. Just like genetically modified maize, genetically modified corn or wheat or genetically modified rice, yeah, it's not the same. It needs a different set of parameters and inputs to make it work, and also has unknown effects when it's consumed. So that's what you're going to be. You're going to be turned into something like that, and I think it's a very dangerous road for these people who I've just mentioned to you from this place, the Oxford UHero Centre for Practical Ethics, to go down. What about their Hippocratic oath? What about the first thing that they are actually sworn to uphold? Do no harm. Do no harm. What do we have? We have also, very recently, that's just been put out for tender in the United Kingdom through a company called Gentech UK. That is a government issued request for a tender for an AI software program that can monitor, and get this, for 1.5 million is the budget that they're offering initially for phase 1. They want an AI, artificial intelligence software system, that can monitor something called ADR, adverse drug reactions, which they maintain and estimate are going to be quite high. What adverse drug reaction can mean is anything from you dying, to having a second ear grow out on your face, to other complications like breathing, rashes, heart problems, heart failure, you name it. We don't know, and neither do they. So that's what we're looking at here. So if they're saying it's completely safe, if they're saying here they've got to put this vaccine into everyone to guarantee some type of herd immunity, ask yourself then, why do they need to follow and openly monitor these adverse drug reactions? It doesn't make sense. It's a con. The bigger picture is they're tagging you like a dairy or farm animal for a reason. And what's in that vaccine, you don't know. Now, also be careful for the double switch con, that when they introduce this to the frontline workers, whether they are the police, the medical community, the ambulance drivers, the police, or the prime ministers that themselves will say, oh, don't worry, I've got no problem, I'll take the injection in front of everybody. They'll be dummy, they'll be placebo, they'll be water-based injections. That's what they'll probably do with a good portion of the first wave. They'll just put that in so there are no adverse effects for anyone. And that would be a perfect cover-up if I was going to do it. It will only be then the next portion where, when it gets rolled out to the masses, just like in Project Paperclip with the Nuremberg trials in Germany after the war in 1945, all the files that had a little paperclip on them were people that were not going to be found guilty and were going to be rescued and rehoused in the United States. What we see then, in addition to this, why the medical mafia, the medical Gestapo are being all pulled in to sing the same song as a detriment to you. Go and have a look at the general practitioner, we call them GPs in England, their monthly or bi-weekly, I'm not sure what it is, magazine. It's called Pulse Today, as in the pulse on your wrist. Pulsetoday.com, I think it is, or pulsetoday.co.uk. Please check it out. Where they're actually showing that each GP is going to be paid £12.52 for every COVID shot it gives the patient, but only payable to them after the second shot has been administered. So they've got a double shot entry here. And what you can find out is that if there's an examination of shot 1, let's say, of a component, it could actually look inert. It could, for all intents and purposes by the medical community, look as if there's not much really wrong with it, in inverted commas. The second shot also looks the same. That in and of itself, standing there, the examination by a medical body could show that maybe we can't see anything too adverse in it. However, the trick is in the process. When 1 and 2 are combined, it doesn't deliver 2, it delivers 4.5 or something else. It brings in a recombinant action where this actually transmutes the first element and it becomes something different operating in the system. It's well documented, and it's a well documented phenomenon in how to secretly or covertly introduce something into the body. So this video is going on a little bit, but it's very important, and what I'm going to make sure is now we cover the last part of this, and this is this document that this Lisa Forsberg and this Oxford UHERO Centre for Practical Medical Ethics is being used. These are being used as the justification, the medical justification for compulsory vaccination of you. And if they're doing it in the UK, they're going to do it in America, and then they're going to do it in Australia, they're going to do it worldwide. You will not have a choice. And why I'm worried about this, I don't see a anti-vax campaign at sufficiently high levels at the moment to protect you or protect me or protect anyone else out there. Now, what they say is, introduction, compulsory vaccination of COVID-19 and human rights law, very quickly. It says, we are academics working in the areas of philosophy and law with specializations in inter alia, that means amongst other things, moral and political philosophy, biomedical ethics, health law and human rights law. In principle, what I will say is they're saying here, our chief conclusion is that as and when a vaccine becomes available at scale, the government should give serious consideration to compulsory immunization as a means of reducing the impacts of COVID-19. There is an arguable case for the compatibility of compulsory vaccination with human rights law. Why? Because there's vaccine hesitancy. Vaccine hesitancy means all those people who might decide, I'll leave it for now, I don't quite want that. So no. So what they're saying is, in the United Kingdom, Public Health Law, Part 2A of the Public Health Control of Disease Act 1984, PHA 1984, and the Coronavirus Act 2020 provide the legal basis for COVID-19 pandemic control measures. They also address something called human rights law, which we'll come to in a minute, the European Convention of Human Rights. So it says here, neither the Coronavirus Act 2020 nor the PHA 1984 grant the executive the power to mandate vaccination. Indeed, Section 45E of the PHA, Public Health Act 1984, and Schedules 18 and 19 of the Coronavirus Act 2020 rule out provision requiring medical treatment, including vaccination or other prophylactic treatment. A policy of compulsory vaccination would thus require primary legislation. So they address how we will have that administered to us. What they say is that compulsory vaccination and human rights law. Compulsory vaccination, and the vaccination is defined as a medical treatment for the purposes of the Public Health Act 84. A compulsory vaccination policy is likely to constitute an interference with the right to private life protected by Article 8.1 of the European Convention on Human Rights for people who would refuse vaccination given the choice. But they then show how to get round it. The lockdown parity argument. What they're saying is if a lockdown, as you're all in, is justifiable and acceptable under human rights law or public health law, then the parity says that the injection, compulsory to ensure herd immunity, is also legal. So if the lockdown's legal, which it isn't, then the injection's legal. So the final part that they come to is, it is arguable that if lockdown restrictions are compatible with human rights law, so too compulsory vaccination. Current public health law rules out medical treatment, including vaccination, but permits extensive restrictions on personal activity, such as free movement and association. The law privileges the interest in the bodily integrity over other liberties. The lockdown parity argument asks for a justification for treating bodily integrity as distinctly important relative to these other interests. But then they come to one step further, the mental health parity argument. Finally, they conclude, the law permits compulsory interference with bodily integrity under mental health law. This derogation from the common law principle of no treatment without consent is compatible with the European Courts of Human Rights rulings. It is arguable that if compulsory treatment under mental health law is compatible with human rights law, so too is compulsory vaccination. Importantly, the same protected interest that in bodily integrity is at stake in the two contests. The mental health parity argument compares favourably. Anyway, so look that up yourself. That's these people down in Oxford. These are the people who are in part being used to justify compulsory vaccination. The medical profession are all in line and traitorous dogs to a man if they sit there and inject you for money. So just for over or $15 in the United States, just for over a tenner, they're selling the fucking world out for an injection delivered to you with ET technology, with ET phase editing, transcription, messenger RNA in it, and God knows what else. And this is the big thing that you should be asking yourself over and over and over. Would I allow anyone to come and inject something into me when I don't know what's in it? Yeah. So all the people who are walking around there at the moment with these forms that you're preparing, saying the GP has to sign it to guarantee my health and tell me what's in it and all the rest of it, it isn't going to fly, because what they're going to do, and Donald Trump, coming full circle here now, Donald Trump is himself saying to you at the moment, with a general standing there and people from the Center for Disease Control, that they've got the vaccine ready. But didn't they trick you before? Wasn't the first lockdown going to cure some of this? Wasn't the second lockdown going to cure some of it? Now they're talking, oh, we don't know. I even see it on things like the Judge Report, where the headline says, life itself is the cause now of the COVID-19 spread. What? Life itself? So please, just try and get this through your head. The puppet masters of the world, those people or entities, people who are controlling the Faucis and the Gateses and the Bidens and the Pelosi's and the Boris Johnsons and the Merkels and the Putins in Russia, yeah, they've got a control element above them. But the control element behind there is the extraterrestrial trade-off agreements that were reached in 1940 and just after the end of the Second World War, 1945, to exchange technologies that were advantageous and wanted by the human placeholders in return for these extraterrestrials being allowed to do certain things. So if you want to know what's in Area 51, you have to go underground to look. If you want to know what's in the deep underground military bases, likewise. If you want to know what Raytheon and McDonnell Douglas are getting up to, and the Skunk Works in Pasadena are getting up to behind the scenes, if you want to know where all the technology came from for your iPhone, for your laptop, for your flat screen TV, for 5G, where do you think this has all come from? Huh? Do you think the local guy who you went to school with is sitting in a basement coming up with all these ideas and this technology, and how it's all meticulously linked together, and how come Bill Gates gets to where he is? The internet and the computer technology was all delivered like IKEA flat pack furniture in boxes marked A, B, C, D, with instructions in them as to what to do. First release this, then reduce the capacity of the speed, make everybody want more speed to jump to the next level, give them more technology, put a perceptual harness and blindness around them so that they walk like a blinkered horse up to the race gates, or a cow or a bull that needs leading out of a field. They're perceptually blinded and they have no idea really what's going on. There are a few people that are out there that are awakened and have knowledge of all this, but the vast majority can't believe that the politicians would do something so heinously criminal, but they're doing it for money and they're doing it for promises of being taken to a promised land by people like Sir Richard Branson and his Virgin Galactic space fleet, and Elon Musk taking people to Mars and wherever else they think they want to take them. I mean, come on, people, look behind the screen. You're being dicked, you're being genocidally killed off as a people on the planet, not as black or Chinese or Muslim. Bring your mind back to the fact that there is something out there that is degrading your ability to live and is, in effect, attacking you without you knowing it. So that's as much as I really want to say. It's a very interesting topic. There's lots more I want to tell you. I've never touched on this to this extent before, but the reason I'm doing it is it could just be that something got to Trump, or Trump got to something, and we're in a situation now where he's going to roll out the full military agenda, and it's a case of opposames. It doesn't matter whether there's a red hand or a blue hand in the political glove. It's going to get you immunized, so-called, against something that doesn't exist. Where's the flu gone? It's not there. So thanks, I've said enough. So please hit the subscription, hit the like, pass this on to whoever, and another video will come soon with more and more information about what is really going on behind the scenes. There's the key. Peter of England saying thank you.